Hi, everybody. This is Karen. Let me connect here on my phone. I'm sorry, a few minutes late, but I'm going to connect here on my phone because I'm starting. I prepared a little PowerPoint presentation, and so I cannot see the screen. And so I have to connect here on my phone. Just a second. So I'm gonna just wait a little longer and then we should start. Thank you, Des. So I guess I'm gonna start, and I hope we can get more people joining, or we hope we can all watch it later too. So I would like to start by thanking the school for inviting me to, first of all, to be able to create this garden, and second, for this speech today, for this talk today. So I'm going to be here talking about the importance of having a vegetable garden in our school. And I would like you to invite. I'd like to invite you to come and harvest the ideas and values behind producing fresh vegetables. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Karen. I have twins that go to the school. And so they're in preschool right now. And before becoming a mom, I work with food. I have about 20 years of experience in the food business. It started, I first was drawn to this, always thinking about the taste and the deliciousness, and it was all about the best of the food. That's what I wanted to learn. And as time went by, I realized I needed additional information besides the cooking part and developing the taste buds and all that. So I went to nutrition school. After I graduated, when I was studying, I realized that there was something more important and more basic than nutrition itself, which was the production of food and how it travels to our table. So I started participating in many urban gardens. I was living in New York at the time, many urban gardens, and I got involved in some schools. There's an amazing project at the Calhoun School that's on the Upper West Side in New York. And we got to a point there where cooking classes and working in the garden were made part of the curriculum. It wasn't an after-school program anymore. So I went deeper and deeper. Then I traveled to a few places where they made sustainable communities, and then went back to Brazil, where I had the opportunity to be in touch with creating my first living lab. So it was a family property, and I had organic production. I sold to restaurants and to families, and it was a big fun experiment, amazing time in my life, and it was all made thinking about and exploring how nature behaves and how we can learn from it. So I think that's enough about me. I came to the school after I had kids, and with the experience I had before, I really wanted to have, I wanted my kids and your kids to be able to have that tool, because I think it goes way beyond skills. The idea is not at all developing a vocation as a farmer or as a cook, but the idea is to develop tools and skills for the students that they will bring home to their families and to their lives. This is a, hold on, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I can't move this. Okay, so let's go. So I started talking to Des, and I started talking to Miguel, and I started talking to the parents, and a proposition was made, and an invitation was made, and I'm very happy to be at this point. We are pretty much ready to plant. We're just waiting for the irrigation system at this point. I'll talk more about that later, the actual project, but I wanted to first go into the idea behind the project. So there's a few principles, and as I mentioned a little bit before, there's a few, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. The few principles and a lot of opportunities, and I wanted to address that a little bit. So I think the first important thing that we can talk about is the idea of closed loop system. So this is a picture of one of my first harvests, and what I wanted to show you here is diversity. And okay, so what is a closed loop system? These are systems that are sustainable. It's a very common word these days, but I think it's a good choice of word. Because, for instance, we have edible flowers here. We have calendula, and I only know the name in Brazilian. It's capuchinha. So these two plants, they have big role at the garden. They attract pollinators, and they attract ladybugs that will eat some of the pests, and they also are there for us to eat. Herbs, we have some mint here. They all have a purpose, and they all play a role together. There are plants that go very well together. There are plants that don't, and we can create an edible ecosystem. So at the school in particular, I started by learning that we had chickens. Oh, it didn't change to the next slide. I don't know why. Ooh, hold on. I don't know why. Okay, there we go. It's a little behind, that's why. Let me see how I do this. Listen, I'm sorry. So the first thing I learned was that the school had received this amazing gift from a family. There are going to be some chickens. And so we had to create a environment for them, and they had to be integrated. So they will be integrated in the way that leftovers from the garden will be used to feed them, and we're gonna get great manure back. So and that is going to go into our compost, and we're going to have very rich soil eventually. So this is an example of a closed loop system, and eggs as a gift. Then I have here a picture of the compost. It's a rich compost with leaves and leftovers from the kitchen. So I hope I can make myself clear. Then we have another possibility, an important thing, is to create a seed bank. We can harvest seeds. So we're going to be harvesting to eat, harvesting to learn, harvesting to experiment, and we're going to be harvesting seeds. And there are actually groups from around the world that get together and exchange seeds and save seeds. And this is a very important issue. I don't know how many of you are aware that with GMOs, with genetic modifications, we have less and less diversity. So that's one of the importances of having seeds. Also is not having to have any outside input. On a closed loop system, you want to have less and less output from, less and less output. So if we have our own seeds, we won't be buying seeds, and we know that these will be good seeds, that the plants that gave them were not didn't receive any pesticides, or didn't receive any poisons. It didn't start from a genetic modified plant, and so on. I don't even know how long I've been talking. I'm sorry. I don't know. I can know. So, okay. So, we have the seeds and cooking. Cooking will be not only in the there's a close relationship. That's, I think, my point. We have to be very creative to know that, okay, there are a lot of beets to be harvested. Okay, now what can we cook with a lot of beets? Are we going to be juicing? Are we going to be roasting? Are we going to be... So we have this dance that can and should occur between the garden and the kitchen. And now we're going to have, again, this is the picture of a friend that came to visit me once. And we went foraging. We went getting wild plants that she was very knowledgeable about it. And we were able to create a completely different meal. So this is an example of how we can increase the quality of the food that the kids and the staff and everybody will be eating at the cafeteria. And the development of taste buds that occur with that. If you have a lot of fresh herbs, and you're able to recognize, oh, today we had cilantro, and today we had mint and basil, and so on. So it can be a very simple food, because I don't think we look into anything fancy, but very flavorful and very rich and very educational, if you will, to the school. Then you have leftover foods, and then they go back to the compost. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but cooking as a class can be linked to many other subjects, such as history. So you're learning about what the Egyptians ate, and then we can harvest whatever from the garden that can be transformed, and then the student can have a experience that will mark them forever. It uses all senses. So it's not something that stays in a book, right? So these are very important experiences in the sense that they create memory. So I think the possibility of eating this way, it will create a whole different way of thinking about food. And we are, I was reading the other day and I saw this term that I have never heard before, that we are citizen eaters. And I thought that was funny because, in fact, I think that's part of the goal of dealing with edible education, which is create better eaters. I think that's that's even a political statement if you think about it. It's interesting. It's interesting, and it's I think it allows for students to be responsible, to see food with responsibility of what they're eating and what are the impacts in their health and what are the impacts in the world, you know. Anyway, a living lab. I came up with this idea because I think we have a lab at the school that it's amazing, and it's, you know, has endless possibilities, and perhaps now we can have two, and this will be a living lab. It will, I hope, and I hope we can have teachers from all grades watching this later, and I hope we can open a dialogue of how each of you, each of the teachers, and each of the subjects can take advantage of this space. I think that I can give some examples, very simple ones, that we can use math to measure the raised beds, and we can have their one-dimensional, three-dimensional, and then they can do all calculations on that. We can have science for many reasons, history, as I mentioned before, to investigate food, like, I don't know if you're studying the Mexico and the Incas and the variety of corn, and we can plant a plot. Actually, corn, you can't plant it all at the same time because of pollination, but so it's a bad example, but we can have corn there, and they can learn about purple corn and colorful corn and black corn and strawberry corn, and there's so many varieties and so on. Pollination, the idea is to have many flowers. There's a picture here that we can see that, so you have a lot of vegetables, and within we have flowers all over the place, and then you will attract butterflies and bees and so many insects and birds, and do we want them, and how do we see them? For instance, there's an amazing, oh, wow, I'm almost out of time. There's an amazing person called Ernest Goethe. He's a German agroecologist that lives in Brazil, and I had the opportunity to study a little bit under him. He mentioned once the ant relationship in a vegetable garden. So usually, you know, you see ants and you want to kill them, and you look at them as the enemy. And first of all, they made a great job because they take the soil from all the way down and then bring it up, which is something that we do it manually, but the way we do it is in the end, it's a kind of aggressive to the soil. And the way the ants do it is very gentle. So it's a very important animal in that sense. Also, it pollinates zucchinis and other things. And even in the tropics, here we don't have that, but in the tropics we have ants that they cut like big chunks of whatever leaf. And Ernest once mentioned that they choose what they're eating, and it's not because they like that better. It's because it's a different way of looking at it. It's because it was out of balance. And so because it was out of balance, they removed it, and now it creates, it changed the dynamic of this ecosystem. So anyway, I went on, but that's another example. And I want to go back a little bit to the subjects in school and how they can relate to this tool, to this lab, to this living lab. Arts, they can paint all the raised beds. We have to create signs. So I hope, and I make this invitation to all teachers and staff members and parents, of course, and students, of course, that we should get together and we should, I just want to show the last slide. We should get together and create this and make this worthwhile, and it will be fun. I promise, and it will be fulfilling, and it can be life-changing. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoy. I didn't have the opportunity to, I forgot to put my phone number in one of the slides, but I'll make it available for you. You can write here, and I can make it available on the comments too. And please feel free to contact me. Let's talk about food. Let's talk about growing food. Let's talk about how anything, it's endless. It's endless. And I hope you join me on this project. Okay? Thank you, and have a great week. Okay, guys. Bye-bye.